Thanks so much for stopping by. I'm so glad that you were able to connect with me and you have an interest in the stream and what it is and how to use it in your classroom. So basically, I just want to start out by talking a little bit about how I came up with Stream and what it is and why I think it's important. So there's a huge force and movement in STEAM and STEM and using that in your classroom and teaching students how to create using makerspaces, teaching that creative thinking and teaching them the skills that they will need to get the jobs that exist in today's world. And as an elementary teacher, we have to teach reading, writing, science, math, social studies, as well as social skills. So finding the time to implement STEM and STEAM into the classroom, letting our students explore, letting our students get creative has been a huge struggle for me. So I came up with Stream, which is basically just integrating reading into those STEM and STEAM curriculums and activities and education. So STREAM stands for Science, Technology, Reading, Engineering, the Arts, and Math. And it's just the integration of reading skills and strategies with hands-on activities, with engineering challenges, with technology, and taking that reading thinking to the next level. So you might be asking yourself, why is this important and why should I try this? First of all, most importantly, is according to the census.gov website, 37% of the adult population cannot read past a 5th grade reading level. So for me, huge red flags went off when I saw that, and we are trying to teach skills around technology and advanced thinking skills, and 37% of our students can't even read. So teaching reading strategy is an essential part of our job as teachers. Second of all, like I mentioned earlier, time. You have only a certain amount of hours in the day, and those hours fly by. So finding the time to incorporate STEM and STEAM into the classroom is so challenging. And finally, the third reason is engagement. Students are engaged when they're working hands-on. They want to read the book. They want to take on the challenges that are presented to them. So if we can tackle teaching reading, we can tackle the burden of time, the challenge of time, and we can keep our students engaged, why not give it a try? So next up, you might be asking yourself, how do I get started? Where do I begin and what do I do? So I'm just gonna break it down into a few easy steps and hopefully you can get the ball rolling. The first and most essential step is to choose a book. So what is your book? What reading level are you going for? And you need to decide if you'll read the book or if you will have students read the book. Sometimes I use it during guided reading, small groups, strategy groups, partners can read the book and then work together on the activities. It's totally up to you and the dynamic of your class and what's going to work best for you. So I'm just going to kind of walk you through what it looks like and what you might do in a classroom. And I'm just going to use a picture book, one of my all-time favorite books, Henry's Freedom Box. And I'm going to give you some ideas of what it might look like using this book. So I would start out by reading this book aloud. So I've chosen my book and I've decided that I'm going to read it out loud to my class. So the second step is to consider how you will connect it to STEM or STEAM. So how will you get those technology, engineering, and math strategies integrated with your reading skills that you're teaching? So start by asking yourself, is there a problem that can be solved in the book using a STEM challenge? Is there a way for students to connect with the characters through a STEM challenge? Is there a way for the students to retell the story or practice those comprehension skills using technology? All of those things are simple ways to integrate your reading and STEAM. So if you aren't familiar with the book Henry's Freedom Box, basically in the book it's about a slave who escapes to freedom by riding in a wooden box in the back of trains, trucks, boats, and he travels up north and he becomes free, but he has to stay in this box the whole time that he's traveling. Awesome story. If you haven't read it, highly recommend it. So I would start out by reading the book, modeling all of those great thinking strategies, all of those reading skills that I want my students to know. Same things you would always do during read aloud. Then I would finish by asking them some questions, get them talking about the book, get them talking. So I might say, how do you think that the doctor who helped Henry escape figured out how big of a box he might need? So I would have my students then design their own box that needed to be a certain dimension for something to fit in. So I might give them materials such as paper and tape and scissors, and that's all they had to design their box. And their box has to be big enough for a pencil to fit in or a crayon to fit in. So some things that you already have lying around, use them. So much simpler than going out and having to buy something or having to reach out to your makerspace, and so easy to just implement what you already have. So we have the book, I've read it out loud, I've asked them questions to get them thinking about the book, and now I've posed a challenge. Create a box out of paper, tape, and scissors, big enough to hold a crayon. Go. So we've talked about reading the book out loud, we've talked about the engineering challenges, we've talked about having the students talk about the book, and now we're on to math, and how can we tie in math with what we've just finished. So maybe you have them measure the box, maybe you have them compare their measurements, maybe you have them identify what the shape is if you're in a primary grade, maybe you have them identify the volume of the box if you're in an upper elementary grade. So lots of different choices for you to choose from. You can come up with the problems, you can have your students come up with the problems and switch with another partner, have each other help solve problems. Lots of freedom, and don't limit yourself in your thinking, just be creative and have a little fun with it. And if you really want to take it to the next level, you might have your students write about what they've just done. So have them describe their box, have them describe the steps that they took. Maybe you could have them write a how-to piece on it. Maybe you could have them write their own version of Henry's Freedom Box, again, depending on your students, their needs, and of course your grade level. The one thing I really want to stress here is that there's no right or wrong. The sole purpose of STREAM is to get kids excited about reading, collaborating, creating, thinking, and learning in general. So remember that as you move forward and you start to implement this into your classroom. And as you start doing these things, make sure that you share your ideas using the hashtag with all capitals STREAM, and have a lot of fun.